Hi, welcome back to another edition of Veterans Forum. My name is Rebecca Jennings, the Veterans Service Officer for the town of North Attleborough. We have two additional guests on our show today. Welcome. So our guest is from the Red Sox Foundation in Massachusetts General Hospital Home Base Program. We have Joshua Eagan.
Eagan.
Thank you. I knew I was going to mess that up. Pretty sure I'm going to mess up your name too. Okay. Ryan
Casavant.
Awesome. So you're on the show today to educate our veterans within the community about some great resources that you have available through your program, and we're going to highlight those. So what exactly is Home Base?
Sure. First of all, thanks for having us on.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Grateful to be here. So Home Base is a partnership between MGH and the Red Sox Foundation. Been around since 2009. We're a program helping post 9/11 vets. We're going to touch on a couple of our different programs here this morning, but the main thing to remember is that the main thing we serve is mental health care for post 9/11 veterans. PTSD and traumatic brain injury are widely known in the public, but
now what is exactly is PTSD?
Sure. So post-traumatic stress syndrome and post-traumatic stress disorder and traumatic brain injury, TBI. These ones are fairly well known in the news, but we're really trying to service everything that's considered the invisible wounds of war. So that's to include anxiety, depression, and any of the other sort of cognitive issues that might come up as a result of someone's time in service.
Now, Home Base, it's in Massachusetts, but can you tell us where it's located?
Sure. So we're a clinic within MGH. So we're located in downtown Boston. We work at about two separate locations, two different buildings in the downtown area. So we are located in Boston. There is talk about hopefully expanding that. Just last week, we were informed by our clinical team that they've made progress towards what is called telehealth. This is sort of mental health counseling that takes place really through Skype. And so this could be able to help some of our sort of harder to serve veterans that might be outside of the greater metro Boston area. We have our clinic in downtown Boston primarily for outpatients that are coming in on a weekly basis for mental health care. But we have a new program called the Intensive Clinical Program, or ICP. This is where people come and live with us here in Boston for 2 weeks. Some generous philanthropic donors through Fisher House Charities and Wounded Warrior Project are able to help us with housing and food. And we're able to put up these veterans for 2 weeks in downtown Boston. Veteran outreach coordinators like Ryan and myself and other members of our team are able to walk them over to the #1 hospital in America every day for 2 weeks for everything from group therapy to individual therapy.
That's awesome.
Yoga, Tai Chi, art therapy, we throw it all at them. Since they're living with us for 2 weeks, in this regard, it expands our geographic catchment area to literally the entire planet. So we've had everyone from, Maine, Idaho, Texas, Florida, come and live with us for 2 weeks, and we just throw everything at them for about 13 days, send them back home with some of those coping skills.
They get they get a year's worth of therapy in 2 weeks. Like Josh said, it's the individual, it's the group therapy, and it's also the holistic approach through programs like Tai Chi, yoga, puppy night. Who doesn't love a puppy?
Everybody loves puppies.
Everybody loves puppies. So it's a good time for all. I mean, like they get the best care from the best doctors in the United States at their disposal for 2 weeks, essentially.
Yeah. Now, how did you guys get involved with Home Base? What made you think that this was a place that you wanted to be involved with?
Well, the Veteran Outreach Coordinator team that Ryan and I are on is actually about 6 or 7 members. We're all post 9/11 vets. That's one of the things that makes us unique. When people call in or go to our website, homebase.org, they're basically going to be put in contact with another post 9/11 vet, someone that's been to either Iraq or Afghanistan. Of course, we all have college degrees and everything, but most importantly, it's able to sort of offer that peer connection. The couple things that makes Home Base unique right off the bat is, first off, we could see people regardless of discharge status. This is a big one. This separates us
That is a big one,
very much
absolutely.
from the VA. So dishonorable discharge, bad conduct discharge, these things are not going to be a barrier to care. As long as somebody was in a uniform post 9/11, volunteered to serve their country, we're able to see them. Likewise, we have sort of a holistic approach to treating the veterans support system. It's a 3-generational model. So our parenting support group is very popular. That meets on a weekly basis. We even have child psychiatrists that could see adolescents, separation anxiety as a result of a deployment. The veteran sort of self-identifies their own support system. So that could be girlfriend, boyfriend, they don't have to be married, roommate, sister, parents, children, etc. And we're able to sort of bring people in to the fold to help them so that we're not just treating the veteran, we're also providing them with a support network to go back out into the world. Ryan maybe could tell you a little bit about his time in service.
Yes. So like I said, I did 2 tours overseas, Afghanistan, Iraq. Came back. I'm actually coming up on my 10-year anniversary of getting out of the Marine Corps
Wow.
next month. So it's kind of weird saying it's been 10 years since I got out, but seeing where I was and where I am now, I guess I kind of got my introduction to home base back in 2009. I've shared the story before, but came back, really didn't know what was going on. Apparently I had, my family was really good about noticing some symptomology of PTS, and then getting involved with the home base program. I can't exactly remember how it started, but I know I started seeing them for some therapy for myself. But through them, I was able to get a lot of help through the VA, getting connected for the VA, because that's what home base does. They hook you up with all the different VSOs, Veteran Service Organizations that are out there to get you interconnected to the help that you need. Got me myself some sleep studies done, finding out that I had traumatic brain injury. Therapy is done for that. In the past couple of years, I've been working with them for 3 years in tandem when I was working for Wounded Warrior Project, just working with home base and seeing all the good that they're doing, and the fact that they're providing the clinical approach as well as the holistic approach. And that's how I got introduced to them, and I said, you know what, job opportunity opened up, so as soon as I heard about it, I said, let's make this happen. So I've been fortunate enough to get a job working here at home base.
Thank you for sharing that. Now, what exactly is your role as an outreach coordinator? Can you go into a little bit about that?
Sure, yeah. There's some specialization within the Veteran Outreach Coordinator position having to do with the outpatient clinic and the intensive clinical program, but just in a more generalized sense. I would say probably about 50-50. We're working sort of in the office and outside the office, or what they call forward-facing. So, that 50% is interviews like what we're doing right now, as well as speaking to different groups. So everyone from other veteran service providers, clinicians, housing authorities. Twice now I've been up to Bill Ricca House of Corrections to speak to the veterans that are currently incarcerated up there. We sort of can do everything from car shows to staffing tables at various veterans expos all across New England, as well as sort of switching over to the other side and speaking to donor groups. As you know, we run completely on donations.
Yes.
So the philanthropic giving that takes place is a very big deal. Ryan, I think, actually just spoke at a donor event last week. Is that right?
Yeah, we have the Mission Gratitude, which is a big event where we have the Beach Boys. We're all veterans and their families. Excuse me. Yes, this November 7th. So we had a kickoff event at the very beginning of October. I got up and just kind of shared my story about where I was, where I am, and where I'm going with home base, and how it's helped me and how it's helping other families that are out there as well. One of the groups that we also talked to is first responders. In the past couple of weeks, I spoke to 2 different Southeast. I'm going to get this wrong. Southeast Police Chiefs Association, and then the middle.
A lot of them are veterans.
A lot of them are veterans, but we provide a program with the clinical staff that actually teaches a 4-hour course helping those first responders dealing with signs and symptomology of PTS and TBI for veterans in the community. So if they get to a call or to domestic violence or whatnot, they're able to, assess the situation, also provide them support, introduce them to home base and how
wow.
they, through homebase.org. but also veterans within their departments, whether it's police, fire, EMS. We've had a lot of police chiefs have their men and women in uniform, fill out the survey that do we have online through the homebase.org, and we've had a couple people respond saying that they had found out that they might have some issues, so that they need to get help with. So the police chiefs were able to let those men and women go get help through the ICP or the outpatient clinic, and then carry on. So we kind of cover all facilities, all bases around the area for all types of veterans.
Just on Friday, for example, in Dorchester, we did that exact same training for the Boston Fire Department specifically. So there are towns within Massachusetts that are on the civil service list.
Yes.
So Boston Fire is a perfect example. Boston Fire, it's something like over 90% of new hires are all post 9/11 veterans. So it's not only helping them and their families, but also anyone that they might encounter on the street. Boston Fire, Boston Police, Boston EMS, they're all frontline first responders. So the people that they're seeing on the street, they can sometimes also help to identify if that homeless individual or something like that also happens to be a post 9/11 vet. So to provide them a little bit more specialized direction. Hey, there's a mental health clinic here in our state specifically for people like you. Would you be interested in it? And we're able to help a lot of people that way.
So I know one of the best things about this program is that there's so many different components to it, helping individual veterans and service members and their extended family members. And then there's some terrific events that you already highlighted. Is there any additional things that you wanted to talk about on those events?
We have a lot of other programs. The two biggest ones that are coming up right now, as Ryan mentioned, Mission Gratitude happening November 7th at Gannis Arena. People could purchase tickets online, and we're going to have the Beach Boys
How much
play.
are the tickets?
Free for veterans and their family.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. And it's also a big fundraiser. So last year we did it at Symphony Hall, the mayor, the governor.
And that in turn goes directly into the program, helping the veterans and their family members.
That's directly affecting patient care, exactly. That's the type of stuff that's going to help fund everything from clinicians to social workers, as well as be able to help the veterans that we take in from other parts of the country, and be able to provide services for them for the 2 weeks while they're here. On November 11th,
Veterans Day.
The Veterans Day is going to be the telethon. So in this regard, we usually broadcast on, and I'm not sure I remember the exact channel, but it'll be on TV.
Well, is it going to be on your website?
It'll be on our website, of course.
What is the website?
So homebase.org.
Okay.
And if people go to homebase.org, they can find out exactly what channel that's going to be broadcast on. And veteran outreach coordinators like myself and Ryan will probably be manning the phones, and we'll be taking calls well into the night.
So if people call, they might talk to you.
That's
They may or
right.
may not.
That's right. That's right. Luckily, they'll probably speak to somebody else, so they won't have to hear us anymore. But a lot of us will be staffing that, and that's a big fundraiser. Probably the most recognizable one that took place over the summer is the Run to Home Base. People will recognize this from our big ad on the Mass Pike and stuff like that. The Run to Home Base, since we're partnered with the Red Sox Foundation, the charitable wing of the Red Sox, people could do a run, 5K or 9K?
I think it's a 5K, 9K run and a 5K walk.
Ryan and I are working it. We're not running it. But yes, he's right. It's a 9K run, and people are sort of able to run around downtown Boston, around the Fenway area. They then run inside Fenway Park and across home plate, home base, hence the name. It's a big charitable take-in for us every year, and people have a lot of fun. It was a huge success this year, last year.
Gets bigger and bigger every year.
Absolutely, and people can do it with friends, family, etc. People can run it in teams. It's free for active duty. People are able to sort of have a lot of fun, get a little exercise, and feel like they're giving something back and helping out our clinic. The couple other programs we have that are slightly smaller, for example, there's Warrior Health and Fitness, which takes place in Boston. This one's a little bit more nuanced because a little bit more local. We have a strength and conditioning coach named Ryan Vanderweeded. He works at Northeastern, so unfortunately people have to live usually at least within driving distance of Northeastern University. One of the best gym facilities that exists in Boston. This is free for veterans, and people are able to sort of work out
It's a 6-month program. They focus on strength and conditioning, fitness, nutrition as well.
There's a nutritionist on staff, yep.
So they get a lot of that physical and, it goes together, fitness and definitely nutrition.
People do not have to be a patient to participate in that, so that's sort of helping push our name out. You don't have to come to home base to get mental health care. You can come to home base to, lose 30 pounds and quit smoking. That's another way that you could do that.
The only other program is the Adventure Series.
The Adventure Series.
It's usually, which is one of the ones I take part in a lot. We try to get it out monthly, and it's an opportunity for veterans and their family members to get out there and just do something fun. At the beginning of this month, I believe, we went out to Lanny Orchards. They also donated money to us, but we were able to do some apple picking. We had some lunch that was provided for the veterans and their families. They got to go home with a bag full of apples. They had a corn maze. So it's stuff just to get veterans out in the community, get veterans together so that they can have a good time, meet other people, so spouses and other family members can say, hey, how's your veteran doing? Let's link up. Because a lot of veterans don't socialize enough or socialize at all.
Yes, this is correct.
So it's a good opportunity just to meet other people. It doesn't matter what branch you're from. Most of the veterans that come out are veterans. They're not currently active, but we still do have service members that are still in either National Guard or active at the time. So it's we try to do something every year, every month, seasonally. Obviously it'll change. Hopefully wintertime we get some snow, not too much, but enough snow to do some.
No, we don't need any snow.
Well,
snowboarding.
Last January we did, sugar bush. But yeah, we're able to do sort of skiing and snowboarding and stuff like that. So people should go to homebase.org and check out the website because that actually changes every single month. So over the summer it's, duck boat tours, and over the winter it's skiing.
You do outreach to military children too, right?
So the Adventure Series, people are able to bring their entire family.
Yeah.
The other unique thing about the Adventure Series is people do not have to be a post-9/11 veteran to take place in that. Veterans of all ages, any branch, any service, any time, they can all come, they can all bring their families. We're sort of putting the name out. They don't have to be post-9/11, they don't have to be patients, you don't have to donate anything, it's free. As Ryan was saying, a lot of veterans sort of self-isolate in a way so that they don't socialize enough. And this is socializing sober as well. These are all
drug and alcohol free.
Good, clean, fun, social events. And so one of the big things with veterans sort of self-isolating is that some of the work of veteran outreach coordinators like Ryan and our team is sort of to help to break down the stigma, the barrier to mental health care. So if people come to an Adventure Series and they take a free duck boat tour or Lanny Orchards and they suffer through a 2-minute pitch from somebody like Ryan or myself and they walk away with a home base t-shirt or something like that, that way we're sort of helping to break down the stigma. So when people see that home base t-shirt or hat or hear that name out in the community, it's not a weird thing. It doesn't mean that veteran is even necessarily a patient. It just means that they're helping to support the best mental health clinic that exists for post-9/11 veterans.
No, that's just true. Well, a question that I actually had, a lot of times you often hear about invisible wounds. What exactly is that?
Those are, a lot of people expect or have that mentality that a wound is physical. Yes, it is physical, but also could be mental. A lot of men and women that have served have seen things that they maybe wish they'd never seen or been exposed to what's not a normal thing to happen. A lot of times, things that we experience overseas would never happen here stateside, or hopefully, prayerfully, never do happen stateside. But in the times of combat and war, a lot of guys go through something simple as insomnia, not sleeping enough, not getting enough rest during the night and stuff like that. Traumatic brain injury can't always see what short-term memory loss is, or long-term memory loss, or attitude changes, or behavior changes. I mean, thoughts of suicide always come up. So for a lot of men and women, post-traumatic stress. That's stress coming from a traumatic experience. The thing that's different with military members is that it's a continued experience over the entire time of the deployment. Most people, when they experience
it's like one shot, one kill.
Yeah,
almost.
Yeah, it's one and done. But when you're deployed overseas, you're continuously living in that mentality of, fear, anxiety, stress. Am I going to die today, or am I not going to die today? Stuff like that a lot of people can't see. And then there's no handbook on how to handle that. The military is now, they're putting more and more things in place to understand that, there's a lot of these thoughts, between suicide and just how to transition back from military lifestyle into a civilian world. A lot of us go over there and come back expecting to pick up right where we left off.
That does not happen.
And that does not happen. We change, the environment around us changes. Before it's, make sure you have enough ammo, make sure your uniform's clean, make sure you have some food and water. Now you come home and you have bills, you have kids, you have traffic, you have all different work.
Maybe a new father or...
Yep, you could have new babies or new family members. So it's those are the invisible things that we're talking about, because some of us just don't know how to handle that, or it's new to us. Compounding with all those other things, it's always all that working together all at once and just trying to figure out how to assimilate back into society.
Right. Can you talk to us about your experience you've had with your colleagues and your fellow service personnel and the challenges that you have faced and overcome?
For example, one of the things that I like to highlight is, as I said, on our team, we're all post 9/11 vets. So we're all sort of able to at least connect on that exact level with whoever calls in. If people go to our website, homebase.org, if they click, there's a button that'll say Connect to Care. So if they click on a Connect to Care button, just a name and a phone number is literally all we need. Email would be nice, but a name and a phone number and another post 9/11 vet will be able to call them. Ryan served overseas. We have people on our team that are in Marines, Navy, Army, regular Army, National Guard, different sort of capacities, and a lot of people come with a wealth of knowledge of what they've done in the civilian world as well. So Ryan's been overseas. I was in Massachusetts National Guard, for example.
Right.
So I served in Iraq in 2005 and Afghanistan in 2010. But we have people who have served in the Navy in Spain. We have people that have been to Iraq or Afghanistan or both. When we get back, we're sort of able to help as a team to come together and sort of assess different veterans as they come in, where this person's coming from, what their needs are. Not everybody was in the regular Army or the regular Marines. A lot of people, in between deployments were, say, a policeman or a third grade teacher. If you're in the Guard or Reserves, it's a little bit...
You don't live and breathe it every day.
Exactly. There's slightly more to
when
juggle.
You're coming back, versus somebody that's active duty, they're wearing that uniform 24/7, whether it's stateside or a mobilization, National Guard reservist. It's
Sure.
definitely, and they're often, it's not uncommon for 5 or 6 mobilizations for, a retiree.
There are people who have done, 5, 6 deployments you hear about sometimes. Everyone's experience is unique, basically.
Yes.
The way that people at our agency like to say is, if you know a veteran, you know a veteran, one single veteran, and everybody's story is going to be different. For example, people that served in regular military, if they were in the regular Army, when they come back from Iraq or Afghanistan after a demob, they usually go back to a regular Army base. And there's slightly more of a support system built in, only because you are the next day and the next week and the next month still surrounded by people who sort of have a common shared experience. When I was in the National Guard, we would do sort of a week demob, and then all of a sudden you're back to your civilian world.
Right.
We're not in the South. We're not in Georgia or something where there's a ton of big bases. We're not in Texas where there's a bunch of veterans, and Florida where there's a bunch of retirees living or anything like that. We're up here in the New England area. You could move to, back to northern New Hampshire, and a week after returning from Afghanistan, never see another veteran, pretty much for the rest of your life if you didn't want to. Some people are going back to jobs as a lawyer, teacher. You were in Afghanistan, you were in Kabul, Afghanistan last week, and 3 weeks later you're a third grade math teacher or a Boston cop.
I think a lot of folks, definitely in our audience, don't know that about our National Guard reservists.
Sure, so that can make that transition sometimes can be a little bit anxiety provoking for a lot of people. And basically what we're trying to advocate with our program is that if they feel like maybe they need a little bit of a checkup, it's like tuning up your vehicle. If they just come into the home base program, we can at least give them a workup and see what it is that we can help with in their life. One thing I wanted to touch on that Ryan was saying was when we speak about invisible wounds, people do not have to self-identify with PTSD, a traumatic brain injury. We don't want veterans self-diagnosing that anyways. This is not something you're going to look up on WebMD, okay?
Right.
So if they call in, and like Ryan was saying, one of the biggest ones is sleep. That's we hear that all the time from veterans. That's a good way where PTSD can sort of manifest itself in a symptom. So people will call up and say, I don't know if I have PTSD. I have no idea whether I have or don't have PTSD. I'm just saying I can only sleep for 3 hours a night ever since I got
just
back.
Need help.
So then that individual is seeing us for, say, insomnia, and whatever they want to tell themselves. If they want to come in for insomnia, they're not coming in for PTSD. They're coming in for insomnia. We're going to evaluate them with the best clinicians in the world at the #1 hospital in America, and sort of dig a little bit deeper than that. But the veterans they don't have to come up with anything specific, PTSD. They can just be, something's off, and my life is different since I have returned back from this deployment. And so I'd like to get checked out.
Every deployment is certainly different. You have factors. Maybe you didn't have children before, or you weren't married before. So
one of the main last things that I wanted to touch on was the idea of the deployment. For example, veterans, there is no one definition of what is a veteran.
Right.
And we don't want to sort of get too into the weeds on that. So people don't have to have been deployed. I need to make that clear. If they were just in a uniform post 9/11, they can come to our clinic. There's a gray area there that we don't want to get into the debate about. So there's people who are, I was in the Navy on a ship off the coast of Saudi Arabia, but I've never set foot in the Middle East. Am I a veteran? Or we've seen people traumatic brain injury as a result of a training accident in Virginia. Military sexual trauma, as you know, way too common. So people don't ever have to have left the States. As long as they were wearing any uniform of
they
any
can come and
branch
see you.
post 9/11. Absolutely.
So one thing I did want to highlight is if folks cannot come to your event, but they want to contribute to your organization to help veterans, can you tell our audience before we wrap up, how can they do that?
Absolutely. Ryan, you want to touch on it?
2 things. Easiest one, homebase.org. Follow the links to donate. There's buttons in there, and just follow the steps in that. And the one thing I really want to stress that I don't think we brought up yet is that all these services are free to the veteran and their family.
Oh, yes. Excuse me.
Because,
Yes.
that's one thing. At the clinic, it's free. The ICP program is free as well. And we remove all barriers, or what some people may call excuses, like, we'll Uber them. We'll have, we have retired state troopers that will go and pick them up. We'll get them in on the Amtrak. We'll fly them in. Like Josh said, we had flown people in from out of state, Texas, San Diego, stuff like that. So all these barriers are broken down, so that way we make it as easy as possible for that veteran and their family member to get out and come see us, for treatment as well.
And ultimately, that's what we want. I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having us.
I appreciate it, and educating our members within the community about all the great things you guys do and continue to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we wrap up, some things that I wanted to highlight. Veterans Day is coming up November 11th, and we are going to have Veterans Day again at the community school, which is going to be at 11 o'clock. It's going to kick off with the breakfast, the Veterans Breakfast, at 8 o'clock. We're also having the Pearl Harbor Day again, and that's at 10 o'clock at December 7th. And for folks that are interested, we are having the first annual Veterans Christmas Party, and that's going to be at Belisano's Restaurant. This is at no cost to veterans and their families. However, they need to contact my office to reserve a spot. This is limited on the seating. So thank you very much for joining Veterans Forum, and until next time, have a wonderful day.